Say, did you hear the one about the couple dressed in Victorian clothing who went to a Victorian-themed garden park in Victoria, BC, and were ejected from the park because they were too Victorian? But seriously, folks, this actually happened. Just wait till you hear the backstory and the appalling double standard that is embraced by Butchart Gardens. Gabriel and Sarah Chrisman of Port Townsend, Washington, described their lives as a ongoing research project into the Victorian era. They wear Victorian clothing, they use Victorian era technology, they even get around town in penny farthing bicycles. They're delightfully eccentric. So Victoria, British Columbia seemed like the perfect destination to celebrate their 14th wedding anniversary. And when they went to visit one of the city's top attraction, Butchart Gardens, as always, they wore their Victorian attire. But while this clothing was the height of style in the 90s, as in the 1890s, for the fashion police at Butchart Gardens, it was just, well, too Victorian. To the couple's dismay and disbelief, they were told that if they wanted to enter, they would have to shed their costumes. The couple tried to explain this is how they actually dress on a daily basis, but the staff member wouldn't budge, and the Chrismans were actually ejected from the park. Now, in a statement, Butchart Gardens said its policy prohibiting costumes of any sort is aimed at preserving our tranquil atmosphere. Tranquil atmosphere? Well, maybe they're onto something here. I don't know about you folks, but when I see Victorian clothing, I feel like overturning cars. Butchart Gardens also said the couple might have been mistaken for staff members. But here's how that problem could have been corrected. Excuse me, ma'am, do you work here? No, I don't. Okay, thanks anyway. By the way, this happens to me almost every time I go to Canadian Tire. For some reason, other customers think I'm on staff, even though I don't have anything in my wardrobe that resembles a Canadian Tire uniform. Amazingly, the world does not end. But even so, just how committed is Butchart Gardens to the no costumes rule? Well, I reached out to them, and what ensued was perhaps the most bizarre interview I've experienced in my 30 years of journalism. For starters, I could not get past the receptionist, Gail. She wouldn't give me her last name, but that's okay. I kind of feel sorry for Gail, given that none of the head honchos at Butchart Gardens would come to the phone. They all hid behind Gail's skirt because they didn't want to touch my query. My question was this: does the no costume rule apply to the identity concealing clothing that is the burqa and the niqab? Well, first Gail directed me to the facility's website, which, as you can imagine, doesn't address the haberdashery associated with radical Islam. Then it was put on hold as Gail presumably asked her boss. There was much indecipherable chatter in the background before Gail came back to the phone and stated, "You are welcome to wear the burqa and niqab, as that is not a costume." Well, I pressed on. Is the burqa and niqab not a costume that is emblematic of Islamist beliefs? Well, Gail said she wasn't proficient in the Quran before adding, "I never hang up on anyone in my job, and you're about to be the first." Gee, was it something I said? Bottom line, in the latest example of cultural suicide, Victorian clothing that pays homage at a Victorian park in a city named Victoria, in a country where Victoria Day is celebrated, well, that sort of clothing is verboten. Yet when it comes to the despicable, hateful, and misogynistic garb worn by Islamists, hey, have a nice day. Wow, only at Butchart Gardens, you say? Pity. For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.